Yo guys, I just found this channel on YouTube. It's called Basic Logic. Very interesting stuff on here. The one we're looking at today is an honest review of civil rights. Now, the first person I heard challenge civil rights was our buddy JLP, Jesse Lee Peterson. So his take on it is quite interesting. It's always good to look at two sides of the coin, both sides of the coin, to see where things are coming from. And let's see what this dude has to say. This should be interesting. Let's go.
The Civil Rights Act is lauded as the crowning achievement of the civil rights movement that finally ended legal racism and brought about equality for black people in America. But today, America is still accused of institutional racism, key liberties such as freedom of association were sacrificed, and racial tensions are rising. So what happened? In this video, I will go over the Civil Rights Act and give my honest thoughts on its consequences. And if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing, it helps the channel. One of the goals of the Civil Rights Act was to oppose Jim Crow laws that often forced private business owners to segregate and not service customers on the basis of group identity. This is a fair goal. Jim Crow laws were a flagrant breach of freedom of association. That is, the right of an individual to choose with
What was a Jim Crow law?
whom he shares company and does business with, free from coercion. But instead of defending freedom of association, Title II of the Civil Rights Act instead mandated that an individual must do business with customers on the basis of identity, or suffer consequences. It's the same violation of liberty as Jim Crow, just in reverse. Why wasn't upholding freedom of association enough by itself? On paper, the idea that private owners were now forced to not reject customers on the basis of identity sounds.
So real quick, Jim Crow law definition. After the Civil War ended slavery in 1865, many southern states created laws that required black and white people to be separated in everyday life. These laws affected things like schools, restaurants, buses and trains, drinking fountains, restroom, parks, hospitals, movie theaters, and voting. Often described as separate but equal. Now, did that work? You know what? Really quick, just on the off the top of my dome, I did an interview out here. I'll probably post it on the other channel with this lady. Her name was Jam, a very, very cool Thai lady, kind of high-so Thai lady that owns a guest house over in the Khao San area. And she was explaining to me the idea of segregation in Thailand. And the way she broke it down was we have the little India area, we have the little African Ethiopian area, different communities, the Chinatown area. And the idea was that if we went to, because she wanted to take me for Ethiopian food, that was her idea. And she goes, I'll take you over here, it's little Ethiopia, and the Ethiopian people are going to be so proud to show off their culture. Now, do you think that that would happen if we segregated in the U.S., or do you think you would get treated as, we're going to present you with this plate of soul food, or do you think if you went to that neighborhood you'd get robbed and treated terribly? To be, what do you see what I'm saying here? What do you guys think?
Sounds good. An end to the irrational refusal to service people based solely on the color of their skin. But things are rarely that simple. Economists have long argued that it is unnecessary to force private businesses to desegregate because the market already provides the proper incentives. An irrationally racist owner who refuses customers for no good reason is losing out on business and gets outcompeted by a non-racist rival, thus rendering the clause unnecessary as the market would sort this out on its own. But defenders of the Civil Rights Act argue that despite these market incentives, racist business practices still dominated large parts of America, even in the absence of Jim Crow laws. And they're not wrong. Both sides are factually correct. So what's going on here? There's only one answer. What if the racist business owner isn't being irrational? What if, hypothetically, there was a group of people who, on average, while being serviced, are more likely to refuse to pay, to steal items, to harass other customers and staff,
and not tip,
and generally cost the private owner more? What if he was forced to spend money on additional security, specifically to protect products typically used by that certain group? What if the additional business from the honest members of that group wasn't worth the
Yeah, I went to New York this earlier this year, and it was so crazy to me. We were in like a Rite Aid or something like that, one of these little convenience stores, and stuff was locked up, like shampoos and things like this. Very, very strange. Very, very strange for me to see that.
Increased risk
Razors,
of
too.
the dishonest members of that group. That would explain the situation perfectly. Some of you may counter-argue, claiming that the real reason for the business owner's actions is because the majority of his clients are racist, so he'd lose out on business if he integrated. Perhaps that's true, but then we'd have to ask, why are his clients being racist? Are they also irrational, or is there something to it? The same logic applies to employment. Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act, probably the most controversial title, forced an end to discrimination in hiring practices. It suffers the same issues as Title 2, except worse, because what counts as discrimination? A racist employer could always argue that a candidate came up short in some arbitrary way, and there'd be no way of telling if he was being discriminatory or genuine. So the government came up with a solution in future years.
Real quick, guys, Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act makes it illegal for covered employees to discriminate against employees or job applicants because of their race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Title 7 applies to many aspects of employment, including hiring, firing, pay, promotions, job assignments, training, benefits, harassment in the workplace. I mean, look, this just seems like it's a setup for the employers on this. Hey, man, you got to be able to hire who you want. Bottom line.
Outcomes. In essence, a court decides what counts as an identity group, compares it to another identity group, and if there's a discrepancy in outcome, assumes the cause is always discrimination. Because there's definitely nothing else that could possibly account for differences between group averages. It's effectively a legal mandate enforcing the blank slate theory, even though it's been debunked over and over again. The consequences were dire. Businesses now felt like they had to hire a certain number of minorities, or else face legal consequences.
That's crazy.
This led to the development of race quotas, affirmative action.
Could you imagine? I don't think you guys understand how hard entrepreneurship is, or starting your own business, and then you have to deal with garbage like this on top of it.
And other travesties. The Civil Rights Act was meant to protect people from discrimination, but race quotas do exactly the opposite. A qualified candidate that would have been hired otherwise could be rejected simply because he wasn't of a protected group. And the company wants to preemptively protect themselves against accusations of discrimination. And perhaps even worse is the chosen enforcement system. If an individual felt like a company was discriminating against a protected group, they could file a report with a federal agency called the EEOC, which would investigate the claim and then demand some kind of compensation. The most common way of which was for the company to just pay them, which provided a financial incentive for citizens to constantly cry racism with...
Have you seen like the body cam videos, and people are resisting arrest? And to me, the reason they're doing that is because they're looking for a lawsuit. So they'll resist, they'll fight the police in hopes that they can take it to court and try to get a police brutality case. It's like their lottery ticket. Could you imagine?
No consequence.
Could you imagine being a police officer and dealing with that?
If the company refused, the EEOC would sue them and bring them to court. At that point, the company would have to try to prove their innocence, and the only surefire way of doing that is having equal representation among all protected groups, which is what caused the race quotas in the beginning. And as the number of protected groups expanded, not just race but also gender, orientation, etc., the worse these systems became, leading to modern-day DEI initiatives.
DEI.
With Base 44.
This is crazy. What a interesting channel. Yeah, it seems to me like this kind of thing only makes people annoyed
was Title
about
4,
these folks,
focusing on desegregating education and building upon the Brown v. Board of Education ruling from 10 years prior. There's a misconception that the Civil Rights Act only targeted public education. In truth, while Title IV did only focus on public education, Title VI put pressure on private schools by withholding funding. And later, in 1976, following a Supreme Court decision, Title IV was effectively expanded to all forms of education. Parents were not happy about this. They really didn't want to put their kids in the same institutions as kids of other certain groups, and some opted for homeschooling or local community schooling. But why? The official narrative is that they were just too racist, too full of irrational hatred. That might have been the case for some of them, but just like for the business owners, what if there was a more rational concern? Could it be that a certain group was known to, on average, be more delinquent, bully kids more, cause problems, and turn faculties into hotbeds for crime? Could it also be that due to innate differences between the averages of those groups, that the faculty would have to accommodate for their unique challenges, therefore reducing the overall quality of education for the rest? If that were the case, then it would make sense that these parents would prefer to homeschool or set up local faculties of trusted community members, instead of sending their kids to public facilities, which is exactly what they did. But of course, that's not real integration, and homeschooling was a legal gray area at the time. So the federal government resorted to sending armed troops to force attendance in desegregated faculties. If parents didn't send their kids, they could be hit with
armed troops. Can somebody check on that for me? Leave a comment down below if I can get information on that. I couldn't see that they could send armed troops. I mean, maybe a sheriff or something is what they're referring to.
Fines, jail time, or even lose custody. Here's a thought. If you need the threat of violence against another group to force them to associate with your group because they refuse to do so otherwise, maybe the problem isn't them. And why do you even want to associate with them so badly? If they're so irrationally hateful towards you, why would they make good associates? Unless, of course, there's something about their society that you want that your group can't replicate. Because here's the truth. If your group provides value to
Whoa. Did y'all catch that? Hold on, let me run that back again. Let's listen to that a second time.
Here's a thought. If you need the threat of violence against another group to force them to associate with your group because they refuse to do so otherwise, maybe the problem isn't them. And why do you even want to associate with them so badly? If they're so irrationally hateful towards you, why would they make good associates? Unless, of course, there's something about their society that you want that your group can't replicate. Because here's the truth. If your group provides value to those they interact with, people will naturally want to associate. You don't need force. Forced association is only necessary for those who have nothing to offer, but plenty to take. So here's my review for the Civil Rights Act. 1 out of 10. It caused the very thing it claims to stand against. People are more racist now and more afraid than they've been in a long time. And when you combine it with data from black families from before the 1960s and after, I think it's clear no one won with this arrangement.
I don't know if the consensus is actually people are more racist than they've ever been. But look, seems like white folks kind of won at the game and said, hey, everybody come join the party. And in doing so,
what if you could make a song using
everybody
only your
else
voice?
hasn't
Let's start with
pulled their own weight in joining the party, which is kind of weird. And now people are kind of seeing. I mean, look, it's like if somebody says, look, we got the party going on over here, everybody come join, and then you come over and put your muddy boots on the couch and you're yelling out, fuck yo couch. We're gonna turn around and say, oh, thanks for coming, guys, but please leave our party now. And I think that's kind of what's happening. It's kind of strange that this civil rights movement led to that. And also we've come to see that welfare, incentivizing fathers out of the home and things like this have led to it. I can tell you guys firsthand, like growing up, looking at MTV, watching music videos, I thought all these folks had big money and were all high class people and stuff like this. You come to find out it was all a facade. And second thing, I've never gotten special treatment, me being me. And, you know, that's a little, when somebody tells you you have everything and everything's going to be handed to you, and then you see other folks benefiting, it is what it is. You know, it's life. We move on. We stay strong. But we don't have to accept the bullshit. You dig? So leave your comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. This is an interesting channel. We'll be back. We'll be back with this channel because he's got a bunch of interesting stuff on here to unpack and look at. I like it. It's time to stop accepting bullshit. Oh, and I'll give you a little tip. You don't necessarily have to confront people. You can simply ignore them.